Graduation day was supposed to mean something. A finish line. A moment to breathe after years of fighting to be seen. The auditorium was filled with laughter and camera flashes. Students hugged their parents, holding bouquets and dreams. I stood alone, searching the crowd for 3 familiar faces. The seats reserved for the Reed family stayed empty. My name echoed through the speakers. People clapped. I smiled for the photos, because that's what you're supposed to do. But my chest felt hollow. They weren't coming. I already knew. 5 hours away, my family was hosting another charity brunch. I saw it later on Clara's Instagram. She was toasting investors under lights I'd strung last summer. Their dog barked in the background. No one mentioned me. No one even remembered what day it was. I drove home in silence, diploma on the seat beside me. The highway lights blurred into streaks of white and gold. I tried not to cry. By the time I reached the driveway, the sky had turned pale blue. The house looked the same, perfect and cold. I stepped inside, suitcase in hand. My mother looked up from her phone. "Traffic bad?" she asked without a glance. My father nodded from behind his laptop. Clara wasn't there. She was probably still networking. No one asked about the ceremony. No one asked about the award. I sat on the couch, holding the wilted bouquet. The silence in that room was louder than applause. Later, in my old bedroom, I unpacked slowly. On the shelf sat a framed photo of Clara's first fashion show. My own science fair photo was gone. I lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling. A thought pressed against my mind like a bruise. Maybe love in this family only exists when it looks good in pictures. The next morning, sunlight touched the curtains. I tried again to reach them. Over breakfast, I told my mother about my new job in Portland. She scrolled through her phone. She murmured. My father entered, holding a folded newspaper. He spoke like a businessman closing a deal. "Clara's project needs funding," he said. "She's close to finishing. Your award money could help." For a moment, I thought he was joking. He was. "You have a job now," my mother added. "That money will come back to you, but for Clara, it's everything." There was no pride in their eyes. No warmth. Just expectation. I felt something inside me twist. I gripped my mug to stop my hands from shaking. "No," I said. The word fell heavy between us. My father frowned. "You're being selfish." "What will people think?" my mother whispered. I stood up. The air felt thin, sharp. "I'm going out," I said. Neither of them looked up. When the door closed behind me, the world felt new. Colder but freer. For the first time, I wasn't their reflection. I was my own beginning. The morning air was heavy with fog. It curled around the trees and pressed against the gate. I walked until my legs ached. Every sound felt too sharp, too alive. My father's voice echoed in my head. "You're being selfish." My mother followed close behind. "What will people think?" I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. When I finally returned, the fog had lifted. Sunlight poured through the kitchen windows. My father was gone, probably at the golf club. My mother sat at the table, coffee untouched. Her phone glowed in her hand. She didn't look up when I entered. I thought about saying something. Maybe one more try, one more plea for kindness. But the words died before they reached my mouth. Instead, I went upstairs and began to pack. I folded clothes I had worn through college. Books filled with notes and late-night thoughts. The scholarship letter that once made me proud. All of it went into a single suitcase. I was halfway through zipping it shut when I heard footsteps. Clara's voice floated down the hall. Bright, polished, unreal. "Anya," she sang, "I heard you got a big check. Congrats, sis." She leaned against the doorframe, sunglasses still on. The scent of her perfume filled the room. You're leaving early, she asked. Mom told you about the opportunity, right? I looked at her. You mean the part where I give you everything I earned? Her smile tightened. Wow, bitter much. I'm not bitter, I said quietly. I'm just done pretending this is normal. She laughed, but her eyes flashed. It's just money. You'll make more. I stood up and faced her. It's never just money. It's always about control. She rolled her eyes. You've always had a victim complex. I brushed past her and grabbed my suitcase. Her voice followed me down the hall. You'll regret this, Anya. You'll see. I didn't answer. Downstairs, my mother was by the counter. She looked up this time. You're really leaving? Yes, I said. I have a job, a life to start. Her expression shifted, practiced and cold. After everything we've done for you. I stopped. You didn't pay for my school. You didn't come to my graduation. You didn't even say congratulations. Her mouth opened, then closed again. The silence that followed felt like truth. I turned toward the door. The house smelled of coffee and disappointment. Outside, the wind was sharp, alive with salt from the sea. My heart pounded, not from fear but from clarity. I wasn't running. I was walking away on my own terms. Still, I didn't know what waited ahead. I only knew one thing. If love means losing yourself, it isn't love. It's a cage with pretty curtains. And I had finally found the strength to leave it open. The afternoon sun was fading when I returned. I only came back for one last bag I had forgotten. From the distance, something felt wrong. Too many cars were parked by the gate. Too many eyes watching from the sidewalk. Then I saw them. Black garbage bags piled high against the white fence. My duffel, half open, clothes spilling out. My laptop case crushed beneath a shoebox. The envelope with my project notes torn in half. And standing beside it, all was my father. Arms crossed, face like stone. My mother stood a few steps away, phone in hand. And Clara, she was live again. Her camera pointed straight at me. This is my sister Anya, she said. The one who owes back rent and walked out on her family. The comments poured in, hearts floating on her screen. People laughed. Some defended her. No one knew the truth. I stepped closer, breath shaking. What is this? I asked quietly. My father didn't flinch. You owe $8,000 in rent, he said. You refused to help your sister. You're no longer welcome here. My throat went dry. I looked at my mother. She wouldn't meet my eyes. Her lips pressed into a perfect line of silence. Clara turned the camera toward herself again. This is what happens when someone bites the hand that fed them. Laughter bubbled from the live stream. Neighbors whispered. I wanted to shout, to tell them everything. But I knew it wouldn't matter. The truth was already twisted into content. So I didn't defend myself. I knelt and started picking up my things. One bag, then another. No one helped. Every movement felt heavy, like lifting pieces of my own worth. I picked up my UC jacket, now smeared with dirt. I picked up my award plaque, the corner cracked. When I reached for the last box, Clara spoke again. Where are you going now, Anya? Off to find someone else to pay for you. I stood up, met her gaze. You'll hear from me soon, I said. Her smile faltered, only for a second. I closed the trunk of my car softly. The engine hummed to life beneath my hands. The house shimmered in the rearview mirror, flawless and hollow. My father still stood there, proud of the wreckage he'd made. My mother still clutched her phone, as if it could save her image. And Clara was still filming, chasing attention like oxygen. I didn't look back again. The road stretched ahead, endless and clean. The wind came through the window, cool and alive. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of leaving. I was afraid of what would have happened if I stayed. They threw me out like trash. But somehow, it felt like freedom disguised as ruin. The kind of ending that knows it's only the beginning. Lynn opened the door before I even knocked. She didn't ask questions, just pulled me inside. Her apartment was small, warm, and smelled like basil. I dropped my bags on the floor and tried not to shake. We sat in silence for a while. She handed me a mug of tea. It was the first warmth I had felt in days. Later, when I unpacked, I found something unexpected. A pale yellow envelope hidden beneath my winter coat. My name writ in my grandmother's handwriting. The ink faded but firm. Below it, a line that read, "Open only when you have no one left." My hands trembled as I tore it open. Inside were papers, thick and official. And a letter. Her voice filled my mind as I read. "My dear Anya, if you're reading this, they've hurt you. I feared this day would come. I made sure you'd never be left with nothing." My throat tightened. Tears blurred the words. I spread the papers across the bed. They were property deeds, notarized, stamped. My name appeared over and over again. 30% of the Reed house in Seaside Valley. Half ownership of a cabin in Pine Ridge. 40% of a commercial building downtown. Not my father's name. Not Clara's. Mine. The room tilted for a moment. The truth hit hard and cold. They hadn't thrown me out because I owed them. They had thrown me out because I owned something they couldn't control. I remembered the forms my parents once asked me to sign. They called them inheritance adjustments. I had ignored them out of exhaustion. Now I knew why they pushed so hard. They wanted it all. And when they couldn't get it, they erased me. A knock came at the door. Lynn peeked in, holding a bowl of soup. "Are you okay?" she asked softly. I wiped my face and smiled weakly. I think my grandmother just saved me. She sat beside me, quiet and steady. We read every page together. Each line felt like armor wrapping around my heart. When she went to bed, I stayed awake. The night was calm, the sea wind humming outside. I opened my laptop and searched for a number I hadn't used in years. Richard Hale, my grandmother's lawyer. I hesitated before calling. When his voice came through, deep and familiar, I almost cried. "Mr. Hale, this is Anya Reed," I said. "Margaret Reed's granddaughter." A pause, then a soft exhale. "I was wondering when you'd call," he said. I told him everything. The eviction. The live stream. The letter. He listened without interrupting. Then his tone changed, steady and sharp. "These documents are valid," he said. "And if they've been using your assets without consent, it's time to stop playing nice." I looked at the papers again, the proof of everything I'd endured. For the first time, the fear in me turned into something else. Resolve. I wasn't powerless. I was the storm they never saw coming. The next morning, I met Richard at his office downtown. The building smelled of old paper and polished wood. He looked exactly as I remembered, calm and precise. I handed him the envelope with trembling fingers. He read in silence for nearly 20 minutes. Then he looked up, his eyes sharp. "These are current and binding," he said. "They've used your name without permission." My pulse quickened. "What happens now?" He folded his hands. "Now we make them answer." That afternoon, he drafted the first letter. A formal demand for all financial records. Every property where my name appeared as co-owner. Every payment, every rental income, every signature. They had 10 business days to comply. The letter was short, cold, and devastating. For the first time, the power wasn't theirs. Days passed in silence. No calls. No messages. Not even a fake apology from my mother. I knew that silence. It wasn't surrender. It was strategy. They were planning. But so was I. Richard filed a freeze on all property transactions. He also brought in an independent management company. They would handle every asset directly through me. Rent collection, maintenance, taxes, everything. Every dollar would now have my name on it. No more secrets. No more control. I focused on my new job, the one that made me feel real. Each day, I built something that belonged to me. 3 days later, I got an unexpected visit. It was a Thursday afternoon. I was closing my laptop when I heard her voice. Anya, got a minute? Clara. She stood in the hallway, wrapped in beige cashmere. Her smile was fragile, almost human. Can we talk? She asked. I nodded, just once. She leaned closer, voice low. You're seriously doing this? I already did, I said. Her laugh cracked. All this over a few old deeds and pocket change. I stared at her. I'm not fighting for money. I'm fighting for truth. She crossed her arms. Grandma meant those properties for all of us. Then why did you hide them? I asked. Her eyes flickered. You're twisting everything. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. The screen glowed red, recording. Her face froze. You're recording me. You walked into my job, I said. This is my space now. She hissed under her breath. You'll regret this. I smiled without warmth. Then I'll see you in court. She turned and walked away, heels clicking like gunfire. That night, I sent the audio to Richard. He replied within the hour. Let them keep digging, he wrote. You're just giving them the shovel. The next week, everything unraveled. Clara's livestream resurfaced online. People saw what she'd done. She lost followers, sponsors, her carefully built image. My father's business deals fell through. My mother's social circle turned cold. I didn't celebrate. I just breathed easier. Because this wasn't revenge. It was gravity finally catching up to them. They had built their world on lies. All I did was take my name back. It ended with an email. Subject line, settlement agreement, full terms accepted. I opened it in the quiet of my new apartment. The morning light spilled through the glass balcony doors. My lavender plant swayed gently in the breeze. Attached was a 3-page document, signed and notarized. My father's name. My mother. Clara's. All 3 signatures side by side. They agreed to everything. Full restitution of the money they withheld. Transfer of all property management, rights to my name. A written admission that I was a rightful co-owner. And that they had profited from my share without consent. No conditions. No excuses. No apologies. Just silence. I leaned back in my chair, breathing slowly. For once, silence didn't hurt. It healed. They didn't call afterward. I didn't expect them to. I closed my laptop and stared out at the city. The ocean shimmered in the distance, endless and calm. Carmel might have been waking up somewhere far away, pretending everything was fine. And maybe that was okay. They could keep their illusion. I had the truth. Days turned into weeks. Work filled my time, but peace filled the spaces between. I led my first project meeting. I bought new curtains. I started sleeping through the night again. One evening, while organizing old folders, something fell out. A small silver USB drive. I almost didn't recognize it. Then I remembered. It had been in my grandmother's desk the last time I saw her. She had told me, there's something I want you to hear, but not yet. My hands shook as I plugged it in. One file. A single audio recording. Her voice filled the room, soft and steady. When you stop letting them use you, they will call it betrayal. Let them. Be yourself. The words broke something open inside me. I cried quietly, not from sadness but release. She had left me more than property. She had left me permission. Permission to draw the line. To choose myself without guilt. To understand that love without respect isn't love at all. I stood on the balcony, wind tangling my hair. The city lights flickered like distant stars. My phone buzzed on the table behind me. Messages from my mother. Then my father. Short, desperate, confused. Come home. Let's talk. I'm sorry. I read them all. Then set the phone face down. Not out of hate. Out of peace. Because I no longer owed them access to my heart. The girl who begged to be seen no longer existed. I breathed in the scent of lavender and salt. This was home now. Not the house I lost, but the one I built within myself. They threw me away to protect their pride. But I found something they could never touch. Freedom. And it finally felt like forever. Months passed quietly. The world kept spinning, softer now, lighter. My mornings smelled of coffee and sea air. The apartment no longer felt borrowed. It felt earned. Sometimes I walked along the shore before work. Waves brushed against my ankles, steady and sure. Each step reminded me that I was still here. Still standing. Still mine. I no longer checked their pages or watched their lives unfold. I didn't need to. Their silence had become its own answer. Forgiveness came slowly, not for them but for me. I stopped waiting for closure. I learned peace doesn't need witnesses. One evening, I stood on the balcony at sunset. The sky burned gold and violet above the water. I thought of my grandmother's voice. When you stop letting them use you, they'll call it betrayal. I smiled. Let them. I closed my eyes and breathed in the salt and wind. For the first time, it didn't feel like starting over. It felt like arriving. And this time, no one could take it away.